Hi, welcome back on my channel, Aline's Visit. I'm Aline, a French guide presenting you art pieces, museum, places, even artists in Paris and elsewhere. First of all, please forgive my voice. My cold is just getting better. As you are visiting the French capital, you may be intrigued by the number of sculptures representing this French author. Maybe you have walked or you will walk on his avenue leading to the Arc of Triumph. He may be the only French writer to be represented in Paris City Hall on the ceiling, metaphorically offering his lyra to the citizen of Paris. Let's talk about Victor Hugo. Born in 1802 in Besançon, in Burgundy region, son of the General Léopold Hugo, Victor Hugo followed his mother to Paris when he was only 7 years old, as she left her husband and moved to the 12 Impasse des Feuillantines in the 5th district. At 20 years old, Hugo married his childhood friend Adèle Fouché. In 1824, the young couple moved to the 90 Rue Vaugirard in the 6th district. In the same building was a good friend of Victor Hugo, Charles Sainte-Beuve, writer himself and literary critic. In the spring 1827, new address, 11 Rue Notre-Dame-des-Champs, still in the 6th district. The Hugo family counted already 3 children, Léopoldine, Charles, and François Victor. In this new and bigger apartment was born the Cénacle, a group of young writers and artists created by Hugo, Sainte-Beuve, and Alfred de Vigny, another poet and novelist. Hector Berlioz and Franz Liszt, the 2 romantic musicians, were part of the visitors. Surrounded by friends, Hugo enjoyed this atmosphere, bursting of new ideas, while Adèle had to feed all those visitors and face all the hassles of an everyday household life. One can be passionate, romantic, absorbed by his creation, but still expect a good meal and a comfortable house on a daily basis. Hugo published an article in the Revue de Paris, Paris Review, entitled War on the Demolitionist, in which he urged the Parisians to put an end to the ransacking and the slow degradation of Parisian monuments like churches induced by the French Revolution. Notre Dame Cathedral was in poor shape. Looted and abandoned since the Revolution, used by Napoleon but not restored under the Empire, she was on ruin. Parisians were used to it and did not bother. Hugo did bother, as he was passing by during his daily long walks along the River Seine. 1830 is definitely the year of passion and drama for the Hugo family. The premiere of Victor Hugo's new theatre piece, Hernani, at the Comédie Française Theatre, sparkled debates among a passionate public, opposing the classics and the romantics. The plot of the play mixes love, revenge, honor, and politics in the 16th century Spain. Meanwhile, after the birth of their last daughter, named after her, Adèle felt the urge to leave Victor, feeling left apart and seduced by the charming Sainte-Beuve, who became her lover. Sainte-Beuve was also the little Adèle's godfather. In 1831, Victor Hugo published his first historical novel, Notre-Dame de Paris, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and if some critics consider that this novel was immoral, the fatality guiding the destiny of each of the characters, Esmeralda, Quasimodo, the press praised the vivid imagination and the unmatched capacity to setting the scene of this novel in a middle-aged Paris. One of his fellow writers, Alphonse Lamartine, very admirative, wrote to Hugo, "You are the Shakespeare of the novel." Finally, Victor Hugo's novel was the best advocate for the renovation of Notre Dame that was trusted to the architect Viollet-le-Duc during the 40s. In October 1832, new moving to the 6 Place Royale, the urban mansion on 3 floors within the building square of the now Place des Vosges, housing now the Victor Hugo Museum. This address will be the one where Hugo stayed the longest time, 16 years, and it's very conveniently placed near the address of the woman who stayed in the shadow of the great man for almost 50 years. Victor Hugo met Juliette Drouet, a comedian. And again, the magic of the charismatic Victor worked so well. Juliette accepted to stop her acting career at his request to devote the rest of her life to him, being his muse, his caretaker, his secretary. Meanwhile, Charles Sainte-Beuve, novel Volupté, voluptuousness, largely inspired by his liaison with Adèle Hugo, was probably meant to push Adèle to break her marital ties with Victor. Tortured between the passion of her lover and the pressure of the social habits, Adèle remained under the emotional and moral influence of Victor Hugo, despite his relationship with Juliette. In 1841, Hugo entered at the French Academy, becoming immortal for the French public. He was the first romantic author to be admitted to this bastion of French high culture. He was more and more invited to the high society salon. Adèle stayed at home, taking care of the finance of the couple, tempering the ardor of Victor to comply to the bright Parisian life. In 45, ennobled as a peer of France, he gained legal immunity that helped him to weather a scandalous adultery trial. He was discovered by a jealous husband, a painter, Billard, in bed with Léonie Donné, the wife, in a mansion out of Paris. During the insurrection of 1848, as the streets became more dangerous for a public figure as Hugo, Juliette became his documentalist, wandering on the barricades and noting scrupulously the facts and the impressions, to keep a trace that may be useful for the great Toto, as she called him. Hugo, writing a public diary of what I learn every day, used abundantly of Juliette's notes. Elected to the Constituent Assembly after the 48 Revolution, Hugo also used Juliette's note to assert his pitches and the articles published in the newspaper L'Événement. Totally opposed to the coup of December 1851, allowing Napoleon III to become emperor, he was condemned to the exile in 1852. Victor Hugo requested that all the family followed him in exile. For his wife and his youngest daughter, Adèle, leaving Paris was unbearable. Juliette Drouet, the faithful among the faithful, remained near him without complaining. For his 19 years of exile, in Jersey and Guernsey without ever living under the same roof. But she wrote him thousands of letters, almost one a day. She was also the copyist of his manuscripts. In 1962, Victor Hugo finished his famous novel Les Misérables, probably partially inspired by the painting of Delacroix, Liberty Guiding the People, he saw previously in the Louvre during his Parisian years. And this novel became an international bestseller. Victor Hugo kept Paris in his heart during all his exile time. But the frivolous and prosperous Paris of Napoleon III was nothing, in no way, compared to the historical Paris cherished by Hugo. In August 1868, Adèle Hugo died of a cerebral congestion in Guernsey. Despite the fall of the Second Empire and his return to Paris in 1870, the following years went terribly sour for Victor and the city he loved so much. The war against Austria, the defeat, the long and cruel siege of Paris, where Parisians ate dogs, the Commune, followed by the death of his two sons, and the seclusion of Adèle in an asylum at his request, all those events did take a toll on the great man. Hugo was 70 years old. In a very touching mark of affection to their great writer, in 1881, Paris decided to change the name of the Avenue des Lots to Avenue Victor Hugo. This way, Victor Hugo became the only author privileged enough to have his address as Victor Hugo in his avenue, Paris. After their return to Paris, Juliette and Victor stayed very close, but they never shared the same house. Juliette died in May 1883, letting Victor definitely alone at 81 years old. On the day of his funeral, the 1st June of 1885, his coffin was followed by almost 2 million people. As requested in his funeral disposition, he was placed in a simple hearse without funeral mass. His coffin was exposed under the Arc of Triumph before entering in the Pantheon. The following night, in the Champs-Élysées garden, all the benches and the groves of the garden witnessed the embrace of so many couples, like a last homage to the great man, liberating the freedom of morals of a corseted society. The literary critic, Mr. Goncourt, said in a disapproving tone, of course, these were republican and free marriage that the good police of Paris respected. Well, I hope you have learned a little bit more about Mr. Victor Hugo and his complicated love life. I hope you enjoyed it. So you know what to do, you know the drill. Give me a thumbs up, write a comment, subscribe to my channel, and as always, see you next time.